Hello and welcome to Instant Transmission, where tonight we're giving our instant reaction to the Demon Slayer series because Todd and I just watched the movie in theater, and you know what? We want to talk about it. This is going to be off the cuff. This is going to be on the fly. So professionalism, if it was even there in the first place, is out the door. And we're going to go ahead and get things rolling here. Todd, what do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. We're talking about the Demon Slayer Infinity Castle movie because it just came out earlier this month.
And I just saw it in theater last night, so I actually have a very fresh image in my head of what this movie is. But I kind of wanted to lead into it just a little bit and just kind of discuss Demon Slayer as a series just for a little bit to kind of get ourselves up to the movie. And Demon Slayer, it's been coming out for a little while now, with the first series or the first season being released in 2019, about 6 years ago.
Yeah. And I think Demon Slayer, even when it first came out, was making big waves. I think there's one episode in particular in the first season. It's like a 26 episode season. It's somewhere around episode 16, maybe 19. And for anybody who is unaware, heads up, there's going to be lots of spoilers coming up. And I'm about to get into one of them right now. So if you don't want spoilers for Demon Slayer, you've been warned. But the episode that was really made waves was Tanjiro and his sister Nezuko, who gets turned into a demon, fighting against the spider demon on Mount Natagumo. I had to look it up. But the visuals for that, the flames that come out of Tanjiro's sword, and him learning that he can use fire breathing and all this stuff. I'm jumping a little bit ahead. Maybe we should talk about what Demon Slayer is as a whole, but it's been a very popular shonen anime.
And I mean, immediately, right off the bat, when I first started watching it, the art style, there's nothing really like it out there. Like, not only is it animated beautifully, but it almost feels like it's like a comic book really actually brought to life. Just the way that everything's so heavily stylized, like the flames are so colorful compared to like a more realistic rendition, and it all kind of works, right? Like the way everything is just a little bit over the top, but it's all mashed together really well.
100%. So Demon Slayer is the company that works on Demon Slayer is Ufotable, and they are known for their beautiful animation. They've worked on the Fate series, I believe, in Unlimited Blade Works, which is one of my personal favorites.
That one's been recommended to me quite a bit. I need to just sit down and give it it's not very long, is it?
No, I think it's maybe 2 seasons, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Anything Ufotable puts their hands on just is visually stunning, and that is no Demon Slayer is no exception. The breathing techniques that they use, so I mean, as I guess the quick run through for, again, if you guys are going to be spoiled for Demon Slayer, so I imagine most people who are now listening at this point have seen it, but we're basically in, I think it's, gosh, is it the 1800s time period for Demon Slayer? It's a time period where you still have swords and I mean swordsmanship, but you also have things like trains, like we have in one of the movies,
And like early gunpowder too, which you eventually find out.
yes, definitely. And we also have, in this universe, we have demons, literal demons, and most of which I think are humans who get turned into demons, and we kind of find out how as we move through the story. And so Tanjiro, our protagonist, his family gets murdered by the supreme demon, Muzan, and his sister gets turned into a demon, and he protects his sister from being killed by a demon slayer, Giyu, and Giyu then effectively puts Tanjiro on the path to become a demon slayer himself in order to kill Muzan and save his sister Nezuko.
Yeah, and a lot of the series is just kind of Tanjiro's journey to becoming a more powerful demon slayer, right? It's and I'm just going to briefly go through the story leading up to the movie because it's like you said, that first season is kind of Tanjiro's entry into the demon slaying world. It sets up the the main plot for us, which is Tandro's trying to save his sister, the only real piece of family he has left. And his sister is also very interesting because she, unlike other demons, does not eat other people. She's able to subside off of good vibes. I actually don't know what she's really like living off of, but she's able to survive without eating other humans, which is kind of the only reason why we see the other demon slayers not kill her. Like it's why she's allowed to live. It's kind of this unspoken thing where if that ever changed, she would probably be cut down.
She's certainly unique, and she during Tanjiro's training, she sleeps for literally, I believe it's 2 years, kind of recovering and stuff like that. We find that she can recover just through sleeping, which is interesting. Whereas the other demons need to consume human flesh in order to gain power and regenerate. And we find that the demons are also like, they all are kind of evolving in their own ways. The way that I kind of alluded to that demons are even created in this world is they have to receive part of Muzan's blood. Muzan being again like the supreme demon, and Muzan is very much in control of the demons. He gives them more of his blood to give them more power. He will kill the demons if he wants to. One of the, I think the only two weaknesses for a demon are cutting off their head, and then they cannot stand in sunlight. And we find that that is actually kind of the whole, that is Muzan's story arc, I guess, is that he is creating new demons in order to find a way, like create an evolution or even create a body that he can take and inhabit that is immune to this, immune to the sun, immune to sunlight, and does not have that weakness that his body does have.
Yeah, and to kind of keep fast forwarding through this, we see Tadro go through a bunch of different really intense situations. Like with there's the entertainment district arc where he has his first encounter with a real upper rank demon, which by the way, that upper rank demon, like the brother sister thing, the way that like they deceive the audience into thinking that it's one demon, but it's actually two. I thought that was super fun. Probably one of my favorite upper ranks just as far as fun design goes. So I'm glad we got to experience that one. But we had that first encounter where everyone nearly dies. We actually have a Hashra get his hand chopped off, so he has to retire afterwards. And then we go through him getting his sword rebuilt and a training arc. Like there's a lot of build up to Tanjiro entering, I guess, the movie or moving on to the movie where he's in the big leagues. And I do like that. I mean, we're Dragon Ball fans, right? We like seeing that build up, that training, that hard work and progression pay off. And I think they do a really good job of it.
100%. Yes. I mean, we get Tanjiro fighting. He works his way up. Like he fights demons that, I mean, even early on are kind of out of his league. But either through his Nezuko helping him, other demon slayers helping him, like Zenitsu or I'm totally drawing a blank on the boarhead
Inosuke?
guys. Yeah, yes, thank you.
I only know that because the joke of him teaching Nesco how to say his name just cracked me the hell up.
That
It was like, oh, she only knows how to say his name and Inosuke's like, well, wait, why does she know how to say Inosuke's name? It just cuts to him saying Inosuke, Inosuke, Inosuke.
that was very good. Yeah, Inosuke is a lot of fun. But those are kind of like the other two, I would say the other two main characters effectively. They help Tanjiro out. I mean, Tanjiro gets to fight alongside some of the Hashira, like we said, for like the entertainment district. And we also find that Tanjiro is, I mean, this is kind of common in shonen anime. Tanjiro is special in multiple ways, really. He is one of the first demon slayers to develop this mark on his head that effectively boosts his power. I don't even think, even after we've finished the movie, I don't think that we know the full extent of like what these marks really are. We just basically know that they manifest when demon slayers are, I think, one, are powerful, like they had the potential for this Mark II manifest, and then two, when they are in dire straits, when they truly need the power the most and kind of need to go further beyond. That's kind of how these things manifest. And then he also is he learns from Giyu. He learns how to do water breathing. So the different demon slayers have like breathing techniques, and that's kind of like the power system in Demon Slayer. But Tanjiro also is an ancestor to the original breathing technique, which I think is it just fire breathing or sun breathing? I'm drawing a blank on the actual name of it, but I'll double
I'm fine with
check.
fire breathing. We all know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because there's a distinction between, I guess, flame breathing and fire breathing. I think it is, which is it's interesting. They get very deep into the minutia
Granular
for the
with it.
breathing. Yeah,
And I mean, it's the same thing with like there's like water breathing, and then there's also mist breathing, which is a different kind of water.
right. Yeah, so there's lots of branches off, but I think the one that started originally was the fire breathing. Um, So Tanjiro's he's special. He's multifaceted, but we also get to see him make that progress from a young boy who is, I think his family is like they they make coal. They're like coal miners or something like that. Um, but they don't seem like they're special. But Tanjiro's father actually does practice this fire breathing and these patterns and stuff.
Yeah, it's Tanjiro's character is interesting. Because there's definitely a lot of like destiny kind of built around his character that he's supposed to do this. And
Right.
I know his character archetype is pretty it seems like it's a pretty typical, what is it, shonen anime character, like the really good-hearted good guy who's like the main character. I don't It's funny because I don't really care for Tanjiro. Like he doesn't do anything for me. He's a little bit too goody two shoes, like almost to the point where it makes me sick. But at the same time, he doesn't annoy me, so I'm fine with his character. I don't love him, but like I don't really hate him either. He's just fine.
He's a funny character. Like I I love him in the sense of like he's just a good boy. Like he's constantly doing things for other people. Like it's for me it's hard to hate his character for sure. The only thing that I don't like about his character is that so it is very much the shonen hero stereotype, and I've seen it enough times that I'm like, give me something a little bit different. But I also he's such a good boy.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to hate him. Like I absolutely it's not that I hate him by any stretch of the imagination. I like characters with a little bit more depth than he has. He seems just too good boy dot character. I wish there was a little bit more to him.
Sure.
Something extra for me to sink my teeth into. It's actually uh one of my things with like My Hero Academia is all the characters are so good all the time that it just like annoys me. I'm just like, people don't act this way. Get out of here.
Oh, I actually, well, I mean, the characters that I like in My Hero are the flawed characters like Endeavor.
Same
So
here.
I thought,
I love the
well,
flawed
yeah.
characters.
And yeah, Tanjiro doesn't. That's funny enough. Tanjiro's biggest flaw is that he has no flaws.
He's just too, it's like when work asks you, like in a job interview, like, oh, what are one of your flaws? Like, I just work too darn hard.
Yeah. I can definitely agree with that. And I think as we dive into the movie proper, I think I'll have some more to say on that too. Uh, but
I'm willing to say though that like I think he's more or less a necessary character for this story. So I don't mind it, but I don't love it either. There are so many other characters that I think are way more interesting than he is, which definitely carries a lot of the my character need for a story to have.
I can definitely I can agree with that for sure. Uh, but I mean, we've covered, I think, at least briefly covered most of the narrative for the show. Tanjiro, uh, well, we watch like in the Mugen Train movie, we get to see Rengoku, probably my favorite character. I mean, again, spoilers, get murdered by the upper three. There's like this demon hierarchy, and the upper six and the lower six are like the most powerful demons. And so Rengoku fights the upper three demon, gets killed in front of Tanjiro, and while protecting Tanjiro as well. Um, Rengoku succeeds in protecting Tanjiro and the other boys, but dies in the process and does not defeat the upper three demon. Uh, and this, I think this is important to talk about. One, because it's a fucking beautiful moment in that movie. But two, because this also is a part of Tanjiro's growth. We even get to see in the movie, like once Tanjiro is basically gifted a very special sword, like the original sword of the Demon Slayers, basically, which he adorns with Rengoku's flame crossguard. And I absolutely love this. I love the detail of this. I love the idea of like Tanjiro honoring Rengoku. And it also is just like a really, the sword looks fantastic visually.
I mean, he's assembled all the Infinity Stones at this point. He's got like this ancient sword that's been reforged in his name. He's got Rengoku's crossguard on there. He's also the only uh I guess demon slayer I've seen use multiple breathing techniques.
Right.
So there's a moment where he uses the electric technique that what's his name?
Zenitsu.
Zenitsu. Yeah.
Yeah.
He uses his technique at some point. We see him use water breathing. We see him use fire breathing. Like he's basically Avatar: The Last Airbender. He's assembling all the elements together, and he's going to be super duper special.
Yes, 100%. And, that's what we talked about. He's special, he's gifted. This is typical shonen anime stuff. Fine, whatever. I'm here for it. I mean, it's similar for Goku, right? Goku was born as a Saiyan, so he automatically gets Zenkai boosts every time he gets close to death.
By dint of birth, they're both better than you. Understand this.
Right. Yes. So it's fine. I mean, when you go into a shonen anime, you kind of expect these sorts of things. I think as I get older and as I see this over and over again, I want something a little bit different, but I'm also okay with it. I understand what I'm getting in for when I go into a shonen anime, and this is kind of the template.
Well, I think this leads us into the actual start of this movie. And I love the start of this movie because it picks right up where we left off at in the series. Like there's not a big, it's like a 2-minute recap basically. And then we're into the fighting, we're into the action. It gets interesting right off the bat. And I love that they didn't waste time. We're getting fighting, we're getting drama, and we're getting a hell of a moment in the first stage of this movie where we see everyone fall in and we see what's her name? The bug Hashira. What's her name? I can't remember.
Shinobu, yeah.
We see her instantly paired off against the upper number 2. And I guess let's talk about him for a second. What do you think about upper number 2?
I love upper number 2. He's probably my favorite demon that we've seen, full stop. Because he comes off, he's so like cheery and jolly and charismatic, and he just always has a smile plastered on his face, and it's so off-putting because he's a demon. He's one of the most powerful demons, and it's just like this great juxtaposition of what you come to expect from demons. So I've fallen in love with this character.
He feels it's almost like serial killer to me, like very cult serial killer. Like I'm creeped out by this guy. I'm really waiting for like a Zarbon moment, because I feel like he's depicted as almost kind of pretty, right? Like he's tall, he's got long blonde hair, and there's really no like spikes or horns or anything weird about him, other than like this weird hat looking tattoo he has on his head. I don't know how to describe it. But he doesn't look like you would expect a demon to look, right?
100%. Yeah, I think it's described as him having like this blood pattern on his head, like in his hair. That's kind of like the one thing, like you said, that is a little bit like off-putting about his look. He also has, and we kind of find out that he was just kind of born with these, but he has these beautiful rainbow colored eyes, which in some ways make him even more like they're kind of beautiful and mesmerizing, but they're also, again, it's off-putting. It's like there are some, just a few things about him just feel strange. Uh,
See, for me, I love this, but I really want that Zarbon moment. I want to see a point where we see that ugly other side where he's pushed to like an extreme limit and he has to put away this like nice veneer that he normally wears to show like his true ugly side. Like I really want it. Like, oh, give it to me because unfortunately our bug Hashira is paired off in a one-on fight with him. And by the way, she fights like a badass. I like the way she's able to like sheath her sword and she's able to almost like twist it and turn it to apply different like poisonous concoctions to it that she's applying throughout their fight.
it's super cool. I think this is the first time we've actually gotten to see Shinobu fight beyond like a very small altercation she had with Giyu back on the mountain. Um, so it's cool to see her in action. It's interesting to see the way that her sword works because it doesn't really have much in the way of a blade. The blade is only at like the very tip of it, and the we find her, she's basically trying to apply, like she quickly darts in and stabs the upper number 2 demon, and she applies some of her poisons, but the demon is able to basically his body regenerates so fast is kind of the impression that we get, that his body is immediately fighting off all of these poisons that Shinobu is applying, and she's never really, throughout the fight, she's never really able to cut off this guy's head, and her poisons are ineffective. So she, well, jumping through it, she basically just gets absorbed by this demon.
Yeah, and I do there's like a little bit of a flashback with her going through like her history with this demon and her older sister. And I do like how we get a little bit of the like kind of her struggles where she's picking up like her sword to avenge her sister who was also killed by this demon, and she has to fight against the fact that she's like pretty small. Like she's a small little person. And so just physically speaking, she doesn't have like the reach and the stride of other demon slayers and how much harder she had to work to overcome kind of those disadvantages. So I do like that we get a brief glimpse into all the struggles she went through up to this fight. And even though she does fight well, she does lose. And I will say, watching her like being slowly absorbed through the demon's chest was kind of revolting. It definitely caught me off guard that they were going to do it so graphically, like the way they did.
I like it a lot. And yeah, I think one of the things that we're definitely going to talk a lot about in this movie is pacing, character arcs, and like the way they tell their stories. One of the things that I like about Shinobu's character arc here and the way that it's revealed is that we've been given some instances of like seeing bits and pieces of Shinobu's story. We know that she lost her sister. We know that she's wearing her sister's Haori, and she joined the Demon Slayers to because her sister was part of the Demon Slayers. I think in this instance where we get these flashbacks with her sister, we learn that their parents died, were killed by demons, and then we learned that this demon, this number 2 demon, and I think you might have said this, Dayton, this is the demon specifically who killed Shinobu's sister. So this fight is personal to her. This is about getting revenge on this demon, and she does everything in her power, even after doing her best to overcome her shortcomings. And she, at least as far as we can tell in this moment, she fails. And I personally, I like that. I like it a lot.
It sets the tone because this is the first big fight in the beginning of the movie. And we even get a moment where I don't know, like her Padawan, I don't know how to describe it, walks into the room to see her basically at the end of her fight. And she gives some sort of signal to her with her hands, and it's not explained. So we don't know what that was. My guess is I feel like she said something like wait. Because my wife and I have a theory, and I think she actually was the first one to start bringing it up. Is I think Her body is just full of these toxins that she's become immune to over time, and we're waiting for the side effects of absorbing like the poison Hashira to really hit this number two. So that's our theory right now.
That's a really good theory. I didn't come up with a good one, but I definitely like by the end of this movie, we still don't have an answer for what the hand signal was. So there, it's very clear that Shinobu didn't just straight out lose this fight. Like Shinobu, I don't think Shinobu's coming back. I think she's dead. Uh, but Shinobu's actions still have more effect to be shown in this movie is one of three for the Infinity Castle arc effectively. So we're definitely going to see more of what Shinobu did, and that's going to apply to this fight with the upper demon number two in the next movies for sure.
Absolutely. Her role isn't done yet. There's no way it's done. Like I
No.
refuse to believe that this is the end of her effect on this story. So I'm looking forward to the next movie coming out in 2 years. But where do we go from here? Because I think after this fight, um, do we begin the fight with upper number three?
It might get teased, but I think what comes up next is the fight with Zenitsu.
That's right. So remember, this is all up off the cuff. Like I didn't take notes while I was in the movie theater. I'm just going off of memory here.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the next fight is Zenitsu. Now, this one is interesting. So we basically find that Zenitsu is immediately up against upper number 6, which this is interesting in part because the upper number 6 demon was actually killed in the entertainment district. That's I mean, Tanjiro, I think, was the one who's specifically cut his head off. It was the one that you said that you liked, Dayton, I believe, the two siblings, where you had to cut both of their heads off at the same time. um but it's very clear that Muzan, our supreme demon, has created or at least promoted a new upper 6 demon. And we very quickly find that this is also a personal stakes fight for Zenitsu, as this demon he's effectively Zenitsu's brother, basically more like a brother in arms. They were both raised by an older man who is uh, he knows, or he is a master of is it lightning or thunder breathing? I always get it wrong. um
Well, they probably mean different things, so you better get it right.
I know, right? I'm gonna say lightning breathing until I look it up and correct myself, but they both were trained under the same old man who was a master in this breathing technique. And I think it is thunder breathing. um But Zenitsu, like, we already know as the audience that Zenitsu only knows, I think there's 6 forms to thunder breathing, and Zenitsu only knows the first form. And we find that his I'm just gonna call him Zenitsu's brother. We find that his brother knows the other 5 forms and not the first form, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of used as um a, a point of storytelling because the reason why I believe they just call him Gramps. The reason why Gramps picked up Zenitsu and this other fighter, number 6, and paired them together is because he was hoping that Zenitsu would learn the other forms and also teach the first form in the process, so they would both become more equal, even keel fighters. And so this was kind of a decision to make both of them better. But the number 6 demon always felt like he was being slighted in this, that this was like offensive to him that he picked someone as weak and as whiny as Zenitsu to train alongside him. And honestly, I don't blame him. Zenitsu, the majority of the series, kind of annoying. If I had to be next to his screaming, whining butt day after day after day, I would probably drink the demon blood to get the hell out of there.
I my first watching, especially watching the first season of Demon Slayer, if I could have just nixed any one thing in the show, it would have been Zenitsu and his character entirely. He is obnoxious. He's lecherous. He's just I can't stand him. However, he's a badass in this fight.
So, okay, I need to ask you about this because it's in the entertainment arc. He goes like into like a trance basically and starts fighting almost like unconsciously. What is going on here where he's suddenly serious? Like I didn't understand the massive change in demeanor.
So the one thing that at least my takeaway is we saw in the Hashira training arc just prior to the Infinity Castle movie, um, towards the end of that, Zenitsu basically tells Tanjiro, he's like, I'm not gonna move on to the next station with you. I have something that I need to do. I need to take care of. And I think this is the result of that training. I think it's twofold in that it's him being able to be conscious and actually be serious. And then by the end of this fight, we'll see the other element of or the other result of his training.
Okay. I guess I can buy that. And I mean this is like a personal thing for him too now, so I
Right.
can see that uh keeping him a little bit more focused than usual. The I don't know if you caught this, but we do learn that Zenitsu developed a new technique that he uses in this fight, and it's the 11th form, which cracked me up because it's one and one next to each other, so it's the 11th form.
Is it? I thought it was seventh. Is it
Was it
11th?
7th? Oh, it might have been 7th. Maybe I just heard 11th and made a
Oh,
joke myself.
that's very funny. I thought it was seventh. It would be very funny if it was 11th, but I thought it was seventh because there are six from the rest of the thunder breathing.
Oh no, it
Um,
might actually be a 7th form. Maybe I'm just making that up. Dang it, yeah. Oh, I thought I heard 11th form when I was in the theater. I was like, that would have been hilarious. No, you missed a golden opportunity.
that would have been very funny if he,
Let's just do ones next to each other. The
if he,
11th form.
yeah, he just makes his forms in binaries, just lots of ones.
All right, that makes more sense. I love this though because the sixth is upset that he was not taught the 7th form, that it was kept secret from him by Gramps, and he uses it as like proof of what he thought, and that Zenitsu was always favored. He was always like his favorite sort of thing. And I love Zenitsu being like, no, like I made this myself. And that's you got that has to be such a heavy blow to your pride, knowing that this person that you looked down on basically your whole life surpassed you. Like it there is something that's pretty poetic about it. And I'm okay with Zenitsu beating this upper because he's kind of like the new guy. He's like the
Right.
fresh upper, so he's not as established as the other one. So I'm okay with this situation.
I agree. Um, it is, man, it is a feel good moment for sure. It is super cathartic. Uh, there, the visual for the seventh technique looks phenomenal. It's like this lightning dragging coming out when Zenitsu cuts off his brother's head. Uh, the one thing that I'm going to say about this, and Dayton, I think that this is a take that you have too. I don't like the storytelling element here because we've followed Zenitsu since very early on in the series. I wish that more of this narrative had been revealed to us ahead of time. I wish that we would have been, even in flashbacks or from Zenitsu's mouth himself, learned about this character, this brother character. Uh, and we didn't need to know that he was a demon. In fact, I would have liked to have known about this character that he grew up with Zenitsu and that Zenitsu cared about him well before this point, and then have this be the reveal even to us as the audience, well, particularly to us as the audience, because it seemed like Zenitsu knew about it, but that we are then revealed that the brother character has become a demon, because that's a huge opportunity for an oh shit moment for us as the audience.
I'm 100% with you. And this happens a couple times during this movie and a couple times during the series too, just in general outside the movie. I don't like getting ambushed by reasons I should care about this person. Like, it doesn't feel good. And if this person was, I mean, this isn't a small part of Zenitsu's like past. This is a major part of his past. This is like his upbringing sort of thing. And it should have been meant. It's like in the original Dragon Ball with Krillin. He talks about how the I forget where he came from, like the dojo or whatever he came
The
from.
monks, yeah.
Yeah, he talks about the monks and how they used to bully him, and so he went out to find a way to like, you know, get stronger than them. Basically, like he was pretty upfront about his intentions and who they were. And when he meets them in that first tournament, you're not surprised by it. And this is like a big moment that you're like, oh yeah, shoot, I remember him talking about this. And the way Krillin reacts to them, he's like kind of shyish and looks away because these are his bullies. And so we get that kind of cathartic takedown of like his childhood demons sort of thing. We could have had the exact same thing here and it would have worked out really well. But we don't, I mean, I don't remember everything in Demon Slayer. Like I definitely kind of just couch watched it. So I definitely missed stuff. But man, like it would have been cool to see something about this before this movie because it's actually, I think, a very good story arc.
I agree. And yeah, that I I don't like I'm okay with being given story like they do this with the demons a lot and we'll talk about that coming up, but I'm okay with being given story in those moments where it's like kind of right on the edge of I mean for the demons it's usually right before they die. They give us their tragic backstory. I'm fine with it. I think this one was the biggest like misstep for me because we this is not a story the story is not following the demons, it's following the demon slayers. So yeah, it makes sense to me sometimes that they give us the demons narrative like just before they die. I'm fine with that. We've been following Zenitsu since the beginning. Like, give us more of his narrative. At least give us hints at it so that we can be shocked when you do give us the reveal that this important character in his narrative is now a demon. We didn't even know who this person was until he was introduced right in this moment.
You know, and I do like kind of piggybacking off what you were mentioning about how we focus on the slayers and not the demons. I like that they almost interweave the demon's backstory with their deaths in a great way where you see as they're dying, it's almost like their humanity slowly starts coming back to them and they start remembering who they were and the people they cared about and the journey that they had gone on to get to that like horrific point that they ended up at. And so it's almost like poetic to me to be like, all right, like I'm dying, I'm in my last moments, I'm thinking about my life. Who was I? Oh, shoot, these are the people that I cared about. At least I'm going back to see them. There's something that's really, I don't know, that makes sense about these backstory flashbacks when we do get them most of the time that I actually think is that makes the story better. It's not just giving us backstory for the sake of it. It actually works into what's happening when it's done well, which they don't always do it well. And I think we're going to be talking about that in just a few minutes here because this is the end of the fight with upper six. Zenitsu chops off his head using his own developed technique, but he's basically out of commission at this point. And a group of like the Demon Slayer Corps and what's the name of that demon who's working for the good side?
Oh shoot.
Does like the medical stuff. Shoot. Either way, not hugely important. Demon Slayer Corps and this guy come up and they're more or less patching Zenitsu together, but they have to hold off waves and waves of these like lower demons to give him enough time to hopefully recover, which we don't know if he does because it's not concluded by the end of the movie.
Right. One thing I realized that we kind of glossed over too or didn't really mention is that I mean it's my impression anyway that Infinity Castle, this whole arc is going to be effectively the end of Demon Slayer. This is movie 1 of 3, as far as I understand too. But the concept or the at least the narrative beat we're at here is that the Demon Slayers, it's a full out war between the demons and the Demon Slayers. The Demon Slayers are trying to trap Muzan and kill him in order to end all of the demons effectively. But Muzan has kind of trapped the Demon Slayers inside his Infinity Castle. And so they are kind of having to the Demon Slayers are having to fight through all the different waves and levels of demons, even to get to Muzan at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even really know where Muzan is. We like in a I don't know, like a blood clot somewhere, just kind of chilling out.
He's in a little cocoon because they tried to basically poison him with something that would get rid of his demonism. We kind of get the impression because he's in this cocoon that he's Muzan is maybe weakened and he's using this cocoon to like suppress whatever this cure is. So it's probably the cure is probably not going to work, but Muzan is not a threat for the moment.
Yeah, and so and kind of while all this is happening, we do get like some background stuff that's happening where the masters children are like mapping the Infinity Castle using like weird sigils that they attach to their heads and around the crows that are flying around. It's an interesting idea. I don't mind that there's like almost like an intelligence operation happening in the background. Like I like that the crows are kind of weaved into this situation because they've always kind of been there this entire time. It's a neat idea. I kind of like that there's more going on than just the demon core fighting inside the castle.
It's cool. They're trying to map everything out. They're trying to find Muzan. The master that you're referencing is for everybody else is the master of the Demon Slayer core, who at the end of the previous arc blew himself and most of his family up in order to trap Muzan. Fucking metal way to go out for sure. But his remaining children that he didn't have blown up are the ones who are kind of heading the operation at this point. They're trying to find Muzan in order to end the curse on their family. That's a whole thing that we don't need to dive too deep into. But I think this basically leads us up into, in my opinion, the fucking meat and potatoes of this movie with demon, the upper rank demon number 3.
Yeah, and this is the demon that killed Ren Goku in front of Tanjiro. So there's definitely some personal beef between these two. And I mean, it's really interesting because he's probably the most compact of all the demons. Like he's like the shorter guy who's kind of muscular who just does martial arts. In an insane way, by the way. It's definitely like demon juiced up martial arts. But he's compared to the other demons, he seems to be like the least crazy to me. He's just kind of an angry guy who wants to beat up people and kill people and get more powerful.
Like, if we want to, I know we're doing some comparisons to Dragon Ball here. If we want to do a Dragon Ball comparison, this guy very much has like if Goku were a demon vibes. Like, he just cares about getting stronger. He wants to fight powerful opponents, and yeah, he gets like this dude gets a major fight boner when he's fighting people that can actually stand up to him. And he even like when he was fighting Rengoku, his whole shtick was that he was telling Rengoku, "Hey, as a human, you have limitations. Like your body can't keep up with, I mean, fighting demons, basically. But if you become a demon, you have an eternity to master your skills." And that's effectively what. So this guy, his name is Akaza. I mean, it's going to be important for his name, uh, but he is. I mean, I like him a lot, but he's also like you like to hate him, I guess, in a funny way because he murdered Rengoku again, my favorite character. So you're like, oh, I want to see justice happen. I want to see this guy get murdered.
And I mean, you know he's damn powerful because Rengoku was not a weak Hashira by any stretch of the imagination. And I mean, he was a sliver away from actually beating Akaza in their big fight. Like he had him pinned, like the daylight was rolling in, like it was on the verge of, I guess you could say maybe a simultaneous defeat, but I mean, pushed to his absolute limit, and you see him squirming at the very end as he sees the sun like reaching out towards him before he's able to break free and run into the woods. So, um, I mean, I I'm glad that we get this fight in this movie, because we needed this fight.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, this is more of a like a personal fight than it is a necessary like story progression fight, if that makes sense. Like this is a cathartic fight. Does beating Upper Three really advance like their like narrative that much? Not really. Like the whole point of this whole thing is to kill Muzan, and it does help killing the uppers. But at the same time, Tanjiro killing this upper is very important for personal reasons.
Right, I agree. And yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit, talking about like the whole narrative of this movie as far as like plot progression, but it does also feel very, it feels very shonen to basically give us a hierarchy of bad guys and then to have the good guys, especially the main character, make his way. Like you don't skip from, you don't skip the upper six to go to Muzan. You have to get through six, five, four, three, two, one, and then you can get to Muzan. That is just a very shonen trope. And so
I love it though. I think it's
yeah,
super fun. And on top, it's almost kind of like power levels too, the way they're ordered like that. And
yep,
so you're like, all right, well, if a Hashira wasn't able to beat Upper Two, and it honestly didn't even seem like it was really even like that close. Like Upper Two looked like he struggled a little bit, but it really seemed like I don't think he was really at risk of losing that fight.
no,
Is kind of the vibe I got. So, like, what's the power gap between Upper Two and Upper Three, and do our main characters stand a chance in this situation? Because we've got changing variables now, where it's just like, all right, he is a little bit weaker, but I'm assuming not that much weaker. But there is Tanjiro and Mr. Giyu, so like there's a lot of variables that really get you thinking about it. And this fight, I mean, this fight starts off explosive too with with Tanjiro immediately kind of learning to read Upper Three's movements. And I think Mr. Giyu even mentions that, oh wow, like Tanjiro's moving at the level of a Hashira now. And
yeah,
I love that. I love that little note that kind of confirms what we've all been, suspicious of. I love that they actually say it. So we know Tanjiro is Hashira level ish. Like he's basically in that upper six spot, if you want to put it that way.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's about a dozen Hashira or something, and not all of them are equal, right? So, while Giyu makes Tanjiro look like Giyu makes it look like there's a big gap between Giyu and Tanjiro, which there is for sure. But I mean, he acknowledges Tanjiro's skill, saying that he's on the level of a Hashira. So Tanjiro might be on like the low end of what a Hashira could be, but that's still wildly impressive, especially given how young he is.
It's like making fun of somebody for barely making it into Mensa or something like that.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's I like that Tanjiro's at that level. I think it makes sense. He's got a lot, like we said, he's kind of gathered the Infinity Stones. He's got a lot of things helping him in this case. He's also put in a hell of a lot of work to get to where he's at. So I don't I wouldn't like him to like just be as good as the other Hashira. I like him kind of being close, but not quite there.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, shoot, he's been, and like we talked about earlier, he's been in so many fights where he was in over his head. It almost seems like he's learned to fight from the back foot. So maybe he's able to keep up with some of these upper rank demons. But I like that they show him keeping up but not winning. Like
Right.
he's able to stand his ground, but he's not necessarily beating him. Because in a lot of the fight that we see between Tanjiro and Upper Three, it's Tanjiro's doing things like blocking like attacks or dodging attacks, but even when he blocks, the weight of that attack still does significant damage to his body. We see like his arms trembling, like his nose bleeding. And so there's definitely a big power gap between these two, but Tanjiro is just barely staying in the game. And I think it's excellently done. Nothing feels plot armory to me about this.
I agree. This kind of has really this has to me like Star Wars Episode 1 vibes. Like you have Darth Maul in Upper 3 and then you have Giyu as uh Qui-Gon? Yeah, Qui-Gon. and then you have Tanjiro as Obi-Wan. Um, I mean, you basically have a master swordsman, you have his student, and then you have the big bad guy. And in this case, Giyu as the master swordsman is doing everything he can to oppose Akaza, but he's also doing everything he can to defend and keep Tanjiro safe. And it's in some ways like Tanjiro is helping here, but he could also be considered a bit of a burden in a way. Giyu is having to go out of his way to save Tanjiro on multiple instances.
Yeah, and throughout this fight, Tanjiro is trying to figure out what is the weak spot of this number 3, because every time he goes in for an attack, it seems like he's able to defend against it regardless of whether he's looking, whether he hears them or not. It always seems like he knows when he's going to be struck at. And so Tanjiro is spending this entire fight kind of figuring out, like, what is his weak spot? How do we take this guy down? And we get, okay, I'm not a big fan of this like backstory dump where we get like a flashback to his father, telling him, I believe it was his father, right? Telling him about like the killing instinct or something like that, and how to. I don't like this because we had 100 opportunities to learn about this, and it just feels dumped into the story right now. I was not a fan of this kind of like, it almost felt like a retcon. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, it really felt like forced.
I get what you mean. I'm a little bit torn on it. I feel less bad about it because we've been over time learning that Tanjiro's father was a descendant of I double checked, it's sun breathing. So
Okay.
Tanjiro's father was a descendant of like the sun breathing techniques. And so we at
Did
least
he mention this in any of the previous like backstory that we learned about his father? Because I don't remember this being, if they did, then I'm just completely wrong here, but I just don't remember this being brought up before this point.
we kind of have to they do sort of not directly, like we kind of have to put the pieces together ourselves. But the fire or the sun breathing rather that Tanjiro uses, all of that is from his father. Like we watch in previous seasons, we watch his father with like a wooden sword out in the snow, like doing these almost like katas, like patterns with a sword. And he's using the sun breathing technique. Like the sun breathing is keeping him warm in the snow, despite the fact that his body is very frail. Um, so to me, this flashback of showing Tanjiro's father speaking about, like, suppress your killing intent and your fighting spirit, I'm okay with them adding that on as kind of like an addition to Tanjiro's father being a descendant of the sun breathing. So I think to me, it's less egregious because we have that other background about Tanjiro's father.
I can see that. For me, I think it is egregious because they could have tacked it on when they were doing the other stuff,
Sure.
and then flip back to that memory of that, and suddenly I'm like, oh shoot, that's right, we did do that. We did talk about that. I feel like these are some breadcrumbs that could have been left a little further back that I would have been much more appreciative of, because I have no problem with his father teaching him this. That's not what bothers me. It's just when they decide to tell you about this, feels like, oh yeah, and also he learned how to beat this guy. Like, I don't know, man. Like, and I will say that, did you feel like this killing instinct suppression thing? Did you get some like Ultra Instinct vibes with it, or was it just me?
It was immediate. I was like, that's Ultra Instinct.
Because the way they were describing it was just like, oh, you just let your body move, and it's like, oh wow, I can like see every one of my muscles and nerves, and just like, wait, hold on, I've heard this before, and I'm okay with it. I'm 100% okay with it. But I was like, this is Ultra Instinct. Like, I'm here for it, but this is Ultra Instinct.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, not to say, uh, we do a Dragon Ball podcast. We're we're covering Demon Slayer because it's very clearly been inspired by Dragon Ball, and that's great. I love that. I don't think that they necessarily like copied Ultra Instinct. I think the idea of like kind of clearing your mind and that sort of thing is common amongst just martial arts in general. But it feels very Ultra Instinct. That was immediately what I thought of.
Yeah, so he kicks on the Ultra Instinct, and he's actually able to actually, I did think that this was kind of funny, where he's sneaking up behind upper three, and Mr. Giyu notices it, and he's like, all right, like he's not noticed. Like he should be able to take this opportunity to chop his head off. And Tanjiro goes, like, upper three, I'm going to decapitate you now. And just announces his intent. I don't know why, it just cracked me up. I think it was a joke for the sake of a joke, but I was okay with it.
Like I don't even I honestly I don't know what they were trying to do there. What I thought they were trying to do was I thought Tanjiro was basically trying to give Giyu an opportunity to decapitate Akaza, but that's not what happens. So I don't know why they went that route. It did feel a little bit weird to me.
So I don't mind it, because it definitely, I agree with you. It did feel weird, but at the same time, I think it was supposed to maybe illustrate that Tanjiro wasn't thinking at this point.
Maybe. Yeah.
um I don't know. They had a couple gags kind of like that throughout the movie, and I thought they landed kind of fine. It's if they don't have that gag in there, I think I'm also fine with it. I don't think
Yeah.
it really adds anything. It is just kind of a joke, but yeah, I did laugh at it. But after this, we find out that Upper Three might not be dead. That he might be able to just like push through being decapitated by Tanjiro, which I'm okay with this, and I say it because we know that decapitating Muzan doesn't kill him, so it makes sense to me that there could be a progression, like a point where these demons hit where decapitating them isn't enough to kill them. They've become so close to Muzan's power level or his bloodline or whatever, that they can survive decapitation. So I'm kind of okay with it.
We already know, like, I agree with all of that. We already know, and we haven't touched on this even, but one of the reasons Muzan even showed up to attack the Demon Slayers is that he wants Nezuko. He wants Tanjiro's sister because she has evolved to the point where she can be out in the sun. She is a demon and she can be out in the sun without getting killed. And that's what Muzan has been looking for 1,000 years. And so it's already been shown to us that demons can evolve. In fact, that's what Muzan's his whole shtick about creating demons is for that reason. So I actually like this as kind of like a way of showing us, yeah, demons can evolve. In fact, they can evolve to the point where they get rid of their weakness of their head getting cut off. So I actually really like this a lot.
I thought it was, I mean, it's definitely like an oh shit moment where, he just grabs his head that's tumbling off his body and starts forcing it back on. And you see it like starting to knit back shut a little bit until Mr. Giyu takes like his broken sword and skewers Upper Three through the head, causing it to tumble onto the floor. Like, I love this moment. It's definitely tense. It's awesome. And then the worst decision that they could possibly make happens here, and we start a like 20+ minute flashback into Upper Three's backstory. And I'm not gonna dwell on this for too long because man, this fight was excellent. I actually like the story that they're trying to tell here. With Upper Three, like he originally started doing all these crimes to help his sickly father, who eventually does commit suicide. I think because of the shame that his son brought him, or to stop his son from doing crimes on his behalf. It could be one of the two or both. And he ends up moving on and finding a new family where this martial arts dojo teacher forces him into his family, seeing kind of a similarity between themselves. Like they both fight to defend something. That's what they're born to do, sort of thing. And he ends up falling in love with the dojo master's daughter, but a rival dojo comes along and kills everybody. So Upper Three loses his mind and just goes on a nuts killing spree and becomes a demon. Cool story, love it. I ship it. We didn't need to spend like 20 minutes or however long it was on this backstory in the middle of this really tense epic fight. Like it really just killed a lot of that moment for me once we got 10 minutes into the flashback.
It was just too long.
Yeah.
It really like I got so into the flashback that I almost forgot what was happening in the present moment. Like it just pulled me out of it so much. Uh, and
Well,
I
that flashback is an entire episode of like a normal series. Like it's
easy,
huge.
yeah, easily. Um, and I honestly, I think most of the fan base really likes this narrative, like getting Akaza's backstory and everything. I know, obviously, you don't feel good about at least the way that it was executed, and I think I kind of I definitely agree with you. I think I fall somewhere in the middle where I like Akaza's story a lot. I don't. And I'm fine getting it where we got it, which again, the demons, they usually do it like right before they die to get the audience to sympathize with them. I'm fine with that. It's just too long, man. Like it just breaks up the fight for way too long. It feels, and that's part of the problem with like we were talking about a little bit about like pacing and like character arcs and narrative and whatnot. Um, I think that's one of the biggest missteps, in my opinion, for this movie.
Yeah, and I mean it's a long movie too. It's like 2.5 hours. You could have cut some of this stuff down and brought it probably closer to a 2 hour movie. Um, which I think makes the rewatchability better on it. Because a 2.5 hour movie is hard. Like you have to clear an entire evening for something like that. So, but I mean, it's a great movie. But goddamn, 2.5 hours is a long time to keep your ass in a movie theater. Like this 10 minutes into this flashback, my wife was like, "All right, I got to use the bathroom." like, like this is dragging on a little bit too long. And I mean, I know I mentioned this, but I'm going to reiterate it again because I think it's important. I like his backstory. I like the
Hmm.
story that they were telling. I just don't like that we took so long to tell it. And I think we could have waited like just a couple minutes longer, like kind of finish up the fight and then give us that because you kind of had like the final moment put on ice. So that way we could get into this backstory, but we waited 20 minutes and then we get like the resolution. Like give us the resolution and then give us the backstory if you're going to go that deep.
I get what you mean. The only thing I would say contrary to that, though, is that the backstory here was important to get the turn that we get from Akaza in him basically offing himself. I think it. I guess you
You could
could have.
explain it afterwards. It wouldn't have affected anything. Just have him off himself, have our heroes be confused, and then give us the reason why it happens. That way we
That's
the
true,
audience know because they wouldn't know.
right?
Um Tanjiro and Mr. Gyu wouldn't know why he did it. So it's fine just going through their eyes to see what they see and then explaining it to us the audience afterwards. I think it would have worked just fine.
That's true. Yeah, actually, I think that you're right. I think that we might have. I think it might have worked out better that way. It's. I think yeah. Honestly, it probably would have. It's hard to say
Or give
if
us the backstory way a long time ago so that way you can just give us a couple breadcrumbs in the moment to remind us of what we should be thinking about um in this moment so that way it explains those decisions because we could have built up this backstory previous when we're doing all the world building and all the lead up so that way when we get into this moment we don't need to break away for very long to show you what's happening.
I think that's I like that the best. I think it would have been better to get Akaza's backstory prior to this fight, even, um, and then we basically get maybe a couple of minutes of like the imagery of Akaza's dead wife grabbing him by the hand, the idea of her like stopping him from or just getting him to like let go. Um, I think that would have been a lot better, and it wouldn't have broken up the fight in like a weird way.
I
So
do like that there's like a weird connection to the dead that all these characters have that you occasionally get moments of. It's such a interesting part of Demon Slayer, and I like when they slowly weave it in where people get to meet like their ancestors or people they cared about that cross. Like it's very there's something almost, how do I describe it? Like romantic about it. Like they've
Right.
romanticized this universe, and I like this little, and it's never overstayed in my opinion when they introduce like connections to the dead that kind of come back and advise or guide our characters. Like I like this aspect of the show.
I agree. The I know we'll probably move on from Akaza's backstory here. The only thing that I wanted to point out, because we kind of skipped through it, the sequence of when Akaza's basically like stepfather or mentor teacher and his soon to be wife, I think, they both get murdered by a rival dojo. Um, when Akaza, still as a human, goes to this rival dojo because it's a kendo dojo, so they fight with swords, whereas Akaza fights with his fists. Um, and Akaza, I think it's something like 67 people with swords, or bare minimum with like bokens with wooden swords. He fights these people in their dojo and murders them with his bare hands, and it's gruesome. Like I think there's even a comment about we found people's limbs like thrown across the room on the ceiling. We couldn't even find parts of this guy. And this was Akaza doing this as a human before becoming a demon. And I'm like, that is savage, man. I love that.
Just all the hate and just vitriol that he had to get out on these people, because this was definitely um a crime of passion. This wasn't something where he needed to go get stronger. This was something where he needed to go get revenge. And I love that that's a part of, I mean, the act, right? Like that's a big
Yeah.
part of the lead up to his. I it seems like all the, or most of the upper demons anyway, there's almost like a sliver of tragedy to all their downfalls, right? Like maybe they weren't wholly evil, or maybe just their view of the world was not quite correct, even though they weren't evil people. Like there's always like a sliver of tragedy to all these upper demons be like falling to the dark side. I mean, honestly, his tragedy was just that like everyone he ever cared about was taken away from him. Like it seemed like he probably would have stayed on the right and right if he just would have had some stability in his life.
One of the things that I like about his tragedy too is that almost all of the other backstories that we hear, it's like, oh, demons killed my family. It's almost always the demons that are at fault. There are no demons at fault in Akaza's backstory. It's humans. It's just humans being fucking shitty to other humans. And I love that.
Oh, that is good. That is really good. Um, I think, well, the one demon who was like the different emotions that summoned like the sand dragons, wasn't he just like kind of a more or less a shitty guy? like like a coward and would steal from people, and he kept being punished for lying and stealing.
More or less, yeah. I mean, you could argue that like I think he like looked, disfigured or whatever. So you could argue that society treated him poorly because of the way that he looked or things like that. But yeah, I don't know.
I would say he was somebody who it seemed like it was more the humans that pushed him to the evil side than the demons.
I see what you mean. Yes.
But
Yeah, you're right.
but I mean, Akaz is very much 100% on like so I like that they like the backstories can they can be beyond just the generic demons killed my family. Um, I like that a lot. Akaza definitely, I mean, you feel some of the pain that he went through of all he ever wanted to do was help the people around him. And, the only method he really had was stealing and fighting because that's all he was ever good at. It's a tragedy. Like they make it a tragedy, but also I don't feel bad for him because he was kind of a shitty person still.
Yeah. Yeah, in a lot of ways. He had kind of reformed himself and then, well, then he had tragedy happen to him. But yeah, his story is good. I think they should have given it to us a little bit differently, but his narrative is fantastic, especially for a character that we as the audience come into this movie hating. We're like, yeah, kill Upper 3. Fuck that guy. He killed Rengoku. Like, I wanted to see justice for Rengoku 100%.
Oh, I liked Rengoku's character. He's just One, his just his visual style is really cool. Like, what a crazy, intense looking character. Um, and two, his personality was so above and beyond. Like, he was such
Oh
an
yeah,
interesting person that you remember the first time you meet him.
very much. Yeah, I don't know. He to me seems like a more interesting Tanjiro, or maybe even like you could compare some elements of his personality to like Goku. He's just so like over the top, enthusiastic, but very positive in a lot of ways. Like he's always pumping other people up. He's always like, we humans are gonna fight. You know, we're gonna do everything we can to beat you demons, and he's I just like that element of his personality. Even up until the very end, up until his death, he just had that sort of like positivity to him.
Yeah. But Upper Three is beheaded, defeated. He decides that, I think more or less that because he didn't win this fight fair and square, that he didn't want to regenerate and he deserved to lose, which is, I think, fine. Um, it's whatever. I'm okay with it. I don't know if it's weird that he decides that that's fair, but like him regenerating his arms and body all the time is that's definitely on the up and up. So it's mileage may vary to me.
There's a like, you're absolutely right. I think that there's an additional element to it as well, in that when he's thinking about his dead wife and everything, he's thinking about like the people that he killed, the people who killed his wife and his teacher, and there's this element to him, like when he walked away from that scene as a human, the thing that he kind of says is that he didn't really want to kill them. Like he wanted to kill himself, as dark as that is. Like he's like, I think he says something about he wants to kill the people who are weak and cannot protect others and stuff like that. And that's part of that's I think that's the other part of why he kills himself as a demon in this moment.
Okay. But yeah, either way, fight's over. Uh Mr. Giyu and Tanjiro are basically passed out because they're so exhausted and wounded at this point. And word reaches the other Hashira, thanks to the crows, that an upper has fallen, and there's kind of this like resurgence of hope throughout the Demon Corps. And that's kind of where the movie wraps up there. I don't know if there was anything you remember towards the end there.
That's basically it. We they kind of like pan across some of the other people that we didn't get to see fight yet. We got kind of like three major fights, and it's clear that the following movies will have fights with the other Hashira and the other upper ranked demons and such.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I wasn't going to see this movie in theater, but we kind of wanted to talk about it on the podcast since it was getting such rave reviews, and both of us like Demon Slayer, and I was like, all right, well, I'll go check it out. And honestly, my expectations were exceeded on this one. We get into the action right away. The animation quality is nonstop good. There's no low point. Like I can't point at something where I'm like, well, there's some B-roll here or something. No, every single part of this movie looks good, and I was entertained pretty much the entire time. And even the stuff I talk negatively about, it's all nitpicks. It's none of the main stuff that I actually really care about. It's all just little things that I think they could have done better. It could have been, the pacing here could have been better. Or we could have moved this backstory either forward or back, and it would have fit in better. But I mean, the action was good. Story or the characters felt great here. And I was definitely caught off guard by the first death of the movie. That was not one that I had expected to die right off the bat. So yeah, I walked in with expecting a pretty decent fun flick, and I walked out thinking it was a really fun flick. So yeah, my expectations were exceeded by this one.
Yeah, yeah, I liked it a lot. I mean, because we're talking about it, we're giving our little nitpicks about it. The only other thing that I would say about it that I was I was a little bit disappointed by, the problem for me is that Mugen Train set such a high bar. Part of that high bar for me, I think the vast majority of Infinity Castle is better than Mugen Train. the part where it falls short for me is Mugen Train had me crying like a baby. The death of Rengoku fucking crushed my soul. And this movie unfortunately doesn't have a moment like that. I was waiting throughout the entire fight with Akaza. I like so I love Giyu. Giyu saving Tanjiro, I love every part of it. I really wanted to see I you can tell I'm a masochist because I really wanted to see Giyu get murdered and that be like what gives Tanjiro an opportunity to kill Upper Three. Uh,
We still got two more movies.
and that's the thing is that we've still got two more movies. We still got Upper Two, Upper One, and Muzan. So they might still give me that moment, but this movie did not give me that moment.
Yeah, and it's hard to say because all this movie is set up for the following two movies to come, right? So
Right.
part of our I guess our feelings about this movie could change depending on how the next two movies go. And so we're kind of looking at this a little bit blind. We're just going off of what we saw right now. We don't know how any of it's going to play out afterwards. We just have to go with our gut on this. And I agree with you on the loss of Rengoku. Oh, I started tearing up, and they showed like everyone crying, like they showed Tanjiro crying and like his friends crying, and then what really brought me out of it is they flipped to the bird and the bird was crying, and I kind of forgot that the birds were smart. I was like, why is that bird crying? Really just took me out of the like I started laughing, but uh almost got me. That's how I mean, that's how good the storytelling was. Is in basically one movie, they get you to really care about this character because we really didn't know anything about him before this movie.
Very little. The only thing that you get previous is that he's opposed to Nezuko, and by the end of Mugen Train, he's for Nezuko. So that was also like a big flip and positive for his character. But for this one, I mean, the only other thing that I would say that's a nitpick for me, and I'm curious to hear your take on this, is like we said, kind of towards the beginning of talking about this movie, I liked that Tanjiro is on like the low end level of Hashira. By the end of this movie, he's like surpassed Giyu. Like he's got his ultra instinct. He takes out Akaza effectively single handed by the end of it. Um, I don't feel great about that. I like I would rather see like kind of like I said, I would rather see Giyu be like the instrument, the tool, the catalyst to give Tanjiro the opportunity to finish off the upper three rather than just see Tanjiro surpass everybody else.
So I wasn't bothered by this, and the reason why is I feel like this wasn't like Tanjiro figuring out a way to be like just raise his power level above Akaza's. I feel like it was just Tanjiro finding a solution to this problem. I
Sure.
don't know how much more powerful this Ultra Instinct makes Tanjiro, because maybe in the next movie he's just, beating everyone hands down, in which case I will not like it. So I want to see a little bit more to see how it plays out. It just seems like he figured out, like, because he wasn't fighting, he was able to stop and think and figure out how to beat this one guy. Like, I think if um man, it's weird to talk about because it's such a rock paper scissors sort of solution that I don't know how much stronger Tanjiro is after this. So it's hard for me to really speak on. I do wish I'm kind of with you where I wish Mr. Giyu would have been a little bit more involved with Tanjiro getting the beheading. Um, but I have to wait and see. I don't have too much of an opinion yet because it still seems like Tanjiro wasn't fighting at the same level as Mr. Giyu even by the end of it. So I don't know what it means yet. It's hard for me to really put my finger on it. We'll just have to see how it's addressed going forward. We
Right.
know Tanjiro is going to be stronger than most or all the other Hashira by the very end, so we got to start making those steps at some point.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean I agree. I'm curious to see what they do with it. I'm just I guess I'm just worried that it's like I don't like the idea because we didn't even touch on that Giyu basically gets his symbol, whatever these symbols are that makes him, more powerful, faster, whatever. Uh, so Giyu even gets his symbol, becomes stronger, and then it kind of, at least to me, it kind of felt like Tanjiro then figured out this technique and kind of like surpassed Giyu. I don't know. I didn't feel great about that. It's again, it's a common shonen trope that the main character just kind of finds ways to get more to get stronger than everybody else. So it's still following shonen conventions. So I guess if
Yeah.
that's your thing, that's fine.
Yeah, I definitely see how there are some problems with this. The way I looked at it is it's just the idea of like, oh well, they can sense your key, so the way to beat this guy is to hide your key. Like that's the way I
Right.
kind of looked at it. Is like, all right, he found the loophole to win this fight. I don't know if it's a raw power boost or not. But for right now, I just feel like he just found the solution to a problem. I don't know what it means for the future. The next movie is going to explain a lot, and it
Yeah.
needs to, because I don't know, because obviously he can use this technique in general. It seems like it is a power boost where his body's able to move on its own, right? Like he is stronger now. It's just, is he a lot stronger against this guy because he relied on people's like being able to, I don't know.
Since
It
they're
was like a blood
fighting.
demon art or something like that he was using to read people's killing intent, and
Exactly.
he's only strong against this guy because it hides it. Like I have a lot of questions.
I if they play it out more like what you're describing, where it was Tanjiro spending time to figure out the solution to this specific fight, I would like that much better. I didn't feel like it was that way by the end of it, but I could be wrong. We need to see the next movie to see how they decide to take this technique and everything.
So I'm
But
gonna roll this into like a bigger kind of discussion. Let's talk about techniques in general that we've seen in this, and I'm gonna tie this to a lot of Demon Slayer. It Because the fighting in Demon Slayer, it is simultaneously the most beautiful fighting I've seen, but also it's kind of void of a lot of like actual back and forth. Like the actual choreography is actually, in my opinion, not that impressive in Demon Slayer. But the visual splendor is so above and beyond, I don't care. Um, does that make any sense to you? Because I feel like I don't know, like I just feel like a breathing technique happens and it's just like, look, I'm attacking like I'm a bunch of horseflies. And then like you slide through and then like 1,000 blades stab through somebody.
no, I largely agree with you, and I think I have more to add to that too. But you kind of mentioned that you might have a sort of hot take on the fighting before we started recording. I feel similar in that the action is beautiful to behold. The choreography itself is very cool. Like I mean the sword swings and just I mean there's lots of very cool stuff to watch, a lot of eye candy. My thing with the techniques, like one of the reasons I wanted to talk about the techniques is that sometimes they don't really feel like they have a name. Sometimes they are visually distinct, but it doesn't feel like there's a reason to use one versus another sometimes. Like it doesn't really feel like, oh, this technique would specifically be suited for this situation. Sometimes it just feels like we're seeing different visual styles for them using like a different technique whenever. There are exceptions to that, like the 11th form water breathing technique is I'm trying to remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's basically like a technique that allows Giyu to dodge a bunch of stuff. Um and so like that one has a distinct purpose. Sometimes we see like the water wheel has a distinct purpose. I would be hard pressed to even tell you what the other water techniques are, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't actually know half the time what a technique is actually doing. Like I know it looks pretty and it's cool as hell, but what makes this technique different from like a lot of them just seem like they're like slashing the sword through stuff. Like I don't know why this slash is different than the other slashes, or they show you a scene of like lightning rippling across the screen and like three demons have their heads chopped off. It's like, all right, but I've seen that with water and fire. Like what's unique about these techniques? So I'm with you there. I wish they would kind of explain to me the idiot over here, like what are you doing exactly? Because it's not always obvious what the technique actually is.
No, I agree. Two things I want to point out. One is the Shinobu's technique. She uses one, I forget what it's called, but it's like something centipede, and like visually it looks like a centipede is like stomping around, like destroying things like a giant centipede. Very cool, very thematic for the insect Hashira. Uh, but yeah, it's also like it's neat. And it has some visual flair to it, and maybe there is, you know, a specific reason to use that technique, but we don't really get that necessarily. And there could be some argument made there for that one. The one that I will say though that is I think kind of shows our point is Zenitsu. So Zenitsu's first form technique is basically he's just really fucking fast. He like pumps his legs up and like darts forward and slashes. It's like a like a drawing technique almost. I feel like, and maybe somebody's probably gonna, you know, tell me I'm wrong about this, but I feel like his seventh form technique isn't any different. It has a cool ass dragon, but
Yeah,
there's
looks
not.
cool.
Yeah, there's nothing to me that indicates that it's different beyond him saying that it's different and the visual effect of the dragon. Like he just darted forward really fast and cut his brother's head off. It's kind of the same as the first form technique.
See, that's why they should have called it the 11th form, and I would have been way okay with it.
That would have been good. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that while the fighting in Demon Slayer is visually stunning, I would love to get something. What's an anime that does this? Maybe Yu Yu Hakusho, um, where you understand like in the narrative. Actually, Hunter x Hunter does this really well too, where you understand in the narrative and like how the powers and the techniques interact with each other. Like you as the audience understand like, oh man, he used this technique to do this very specific thing that let him beat this other technique. And you don't really get that with Demon Slayer. I don't know that you necessarily need it, but I kind of wish it were there.
Yeah, the techniques are, I mean, there's you see them all the time and they're a part of so many important moments, actually most of them. And I wish there was a little bit more attention given to them because I'd like to know like what is this technique? And half the time I don't even know like how many forms are there, like what like I don't even know what's going on. Like I'm gonna use seventh form, like neat. How many forms are there? What are the other forms? Is it like linear? Is it straight up just like is second form better than first form, or do they just strictly have different uses? Um, like I have a lot of questions, and it's not. I can assume some of the things. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the different forms do different things, but like, is it harder to learn fifth form than it is first form? Is that why the first one's first? Like, just tell me. Like, I just would like a little bit of an explanation, a little bit of a walkthrough. Actually, rather than spending the entire Sword Village smithing arc doing swordsmith stuff, have it like have a technique arc where we just go into the nitty gritty of all these. Like, if you know, I want to see like all the different techniques that the different Hashira have and them explaining like, all right, like, you know, this technique is different from this one because you can use it in these situations. It would have been nice to kind of have us, the audience, learn about all of this before going into the Infinity Castle and seeing, I mean, just a boatload of different techniques on the screen.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's and I mean if we talk about Dragon Ball, like Dragon Ball doesn't really give us that either. The thing about that though is that so many shonen anime have been influenced by Dragon Ball. Shonen anime has progressed a lot since Dragon Ball, and they've, you know, anime has come up with, we've got, you know, new techniques, new ways to tell stories, new, I mean, certainly new and better animation. Demon Slayer looks incredible. So I think my expectations are higher for modern day shonen. And I, again, we're saying all of this. I loved this movie. These are, we're getting kind of nitpicky, but that's the whole point of having this discussion. I would like to see, even though it's a beautiful visual splendor, I would like to have more of like understanding why these techniques are being used and how they are helping our heroes win in these scenarios.
And I mean, I feel like this criticism is actually kind of a good one if you think about it. We want to be more involved in the world.
Hmm.
We just feel like this one door has been kind of left only half open for us. Just open it the whole way. Let us know about how these techniques work and how all the stuff is, why they're choosing the different techniques. Because um, I feel like there is purpose behind all this stuff, like why they're choosing certain techniques in certain situations. It's not just random. Just let
Right.
me know. Just let me know what's up. Um, and maybe make the different forms a little bit more visually distinct from each other. So that way, like without you telling me, I should be able to tell you which form something is. Like that should be the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't have a whole lot more to say about that. I think I mean, we've talked a lot about like the pros and cons, some about the character progression. I'm looking at our list now. I mean, visually, the whole thing is gorgeous.
Well,
The
music and sound design, just want to touch on that a little bit. And the 3D animation elements. I'll blow through these real quick. I thought the music was amazing. I love the music. Every time it kicked up, it felt right. Um, I never noticed it being bad. And when I did notice it, it was always for the right reasons. And they went with like this cool, like it was kind of rock and roll, but just nothing nothing felt like weird or like it shouldn't have been there. Like I just generally liked it. I don't know what else to say other than the music was damn good.
hard to agree. I truly would give the music 10 out of 10. There are vocals when you feel like there should be. There's instrumentals when you're in like a sequence that has a lot of dialogue from the characters. There's anytime that they have music, the music informs us as the audience how to feel, and it did so appropriately in every scene, whether it was Akaza's backstory and we need to feel like sad and sympathetic, or if it was, one of the fight sequences going on and we need to feel like tension or excitement. Hit it out of the park every time.
The probably the one little critique I have is I feel like there's sometimes a little bit of a lack of ambiance. There's a lot of scenes where there's just no background noise at all.
Mm,
And sometimes it might be intentional because you're in this like weird place, but other times I'm like, well, I want to hear like we're by the water, like I almost want to hear like water dripping, or maybe the sounds and whirs of like the gears of the Infinity Castle kind of humming along in the background. Like I almost feel like there are some scenes where there should be a little bit more ambiance than there is. Like it like every time we see the castle, it's like moving and folding and things are shifting around. There's like demons running everywhere and slayers fighting. I kind of want to be like I at most points, I feel like I should be hearing something that reminds me of everything that's happening around me. But there's a lot of scenes where there really isn't any ambiance. Not that you always need it, but I would have liked a little bit more.
okay. I didn't catch that, but there was a lot going on, so it's possible I just didn't notice those scenes.
And then my final thing is like 3D animation. I almost always hate it. I think it's always something that ages very poorly. I think here, outside of like two scenes that I can think of, I think it's going to be fine because a lot of it was used for like background stuff. Like a lot of the Infinity Castle was like the 3D design stuff, but really it was just like they show some stuff folding and flipping, and then we're off to a fight, and it looks amazing. So, if any of that stuff ages poorly, it's not going to matter. Like no one's going to care. Um, the one thing that is going to age really poorly is the freaking the clot.
Oh,
That's gonna look. It already looked kind of bad where they try to put Muzan's face like drawn into like a 3D like bubbly fleshy thing, and I was just like, that already looks bad. So I don't know why didn't you just draw the whole thing?
it was too integrated. Like the 2D and the 3D were too integrated. When you have it as the background, it's not nearly as noticeable. So I agree with you. I forgot that was 3D animated, but yeah, that did not look good. The castle though, I think it was smart to do it that way, and probably cheaper and faster.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why they did it that way, and it was one of those things where I thought about it. And it was just like, I understand this. Even if it doesn't age well, it doesn't matter. So I'm
Right.
okay with it. It looked good in the theater experience. If it doesn't look as great down the line, it's fine because everything else looks absolutely incredible. And like, gosh, I know you mentioned they may have worked on this movie for 4 years. I can understand why you need to like cut some stuff to get get this thing moving because you can't work on this thing for forever. It has to be shipped out the door. So the if you want to call 3D animating the castle like corner cutting, I'm fine with it. That's where you should corner cut. I think they made a smart decision with it.
100%. Yeah. Put your time and effort into the parts that matter, like the fight animation, and they certainly did not cut corners there. I mean, again, even though we were talking about like the techniques and a few other things that we have our nitpicks about, fight animation, 10 out of 10. Gorgeous. So,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, the way I rationalized it afterwards, because I was thinking about that, I was just like, the choreography's fine, but the fights are so freaking beautiful. Like, why do I like them so much? And it's because it's art. What they're showing you isn't like other anime where they're trying to give you like this intense fight with like these very nuanced back and forth. It's like, no, we're showing you something beautiful. And
Right.
if you can sit back and just enjoy what's on the screen, like you'll have a great time. And I did. Because it's not like we're getting those moments where it's just like, all right, like I can feel the weight of my sword, and if I push it up against his arm just like this, I can tap. They're not doing that kind of nuanced stuff because that's not what Demon Slayer is really about. Um, and I'm okay with it because it understands what it's trying to be and it's doing it really well.
And actually, as you're saying that, that may be a point for doing it this way rather than like what we were talking about with the techniques is that this is, I mean, it is truly art, and it is so fast paced because they don't have to stop and like explain like this technique or that technique or anything like that. There's no like, I know one thing that people, especially people who don't watch anime, don't like is when you have like the narrative breakdowns in the middle of fights, and you, I mean, you get it a little bit in this, but it's more Tanjiro trying to analyze the fight. That's about the most that you get. Whereas if you watch like Giyu and Akaza going at it, they're just whooping the shit out of each other. It's just like punches and swords being thrown left and right, and it is a spectacle to behold.
To be clear, I am that person who doesn't watch a lot of anime, so I do hate breakdowns in the middle of the fight. So uh, you can put me in that category. But um, I mean, honestly, it's ugh. I can think of a couple of other anime I tried watching. I was just like, I hate this. I'm done. But this one, outside of upper number three's breakdown that took 20 minutes, I didn't mind the other ones. They felt concise. They felt like it was actually giving me some details that I needed to know. They didn't get in the way too much because I don't like it when, and I think My Hero does this, where we're in the middle of the fight, and the episode ends, and then the next episode is an entire back dump, and it drives me up a damn wall because I'm just like, all right, we get back to the fight. I'm just like, what were we doing? Because like it might be a few days between me seeing where we left off at and where we're picking back up from, and I might forget exactly what had happened.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's really a need for them to do that here in most of the fights, just because of the pacing of the fights themselves and the way they do the choreography. So, yeah, I'm trying to think as far as one of the other things that we were going to talk about is the production schedule, I guess, for this show,
Oh yeah.
where I mean, like you said, I had at least heard that it took about 4 years to make this movie, Infinity Castle, and there's going to be two more movies. Uh, it is my understanding that Infinity Castle is the final arc for Demon Slayer. I could be wrong about that. I don't follow the manga closely. But I believe that these next two movies are basically going to be the resolution to Demon Slayer. And there's been some speculation that we won't get the follow up movie. So we're watching this roughly September 2025. We supposedly won't get the second movie until sometime in 2027. And there's speculation for the third movie in 2029. So I think you said, Dayton, that we got Demon Slayer started in 2019. So that's a full 10 years to get the full arc of Demon Slayer.
Yeah, that just I mean, I know in some anime not a long time, but to me that just feels like an incredibly large amount of time to get the conclusion to the story. And I hope it's not true because I feel like watching this movie and then sitting here being like, all right, in 2 years I'll watch the next one, just feels like just absolute suffering to wait that long. But I mean, they're pulling out all the stops for this. Everything looks gorgeous, and it takes time to do something like that. So, and we've said it before, I'd rather have something be done correctly than pushed out the door half-assed. So if this is what it takes, then yes, do it. Let's do it this way. But I will still complain about it.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, this movie is gorgeous from top to bottom. Like, it shows the amount of time, effort, and care they put into it. I would much rather them take 2 years to make the next movie than get a Dragon Ball Super, you know,
Oh
the
God.
first couple of arcs debacle of them giving their animators almost no time to work on the show. And then the animation quality just absolutely tanks. Like, animation takes time, man. And so Ufotable does a phenomenal job with everything they do. Um, I I would rather them take time than pump out something that's not going to be as high quality as what they normally give us.
Yeah, I mean, it's waiting this long is it's gonna be tough, but I'm already feeling like by the time we get to that end product, it's gonna be worth it. It is weird though, ending the series with a trilogy of movies. Like it just as far as like going from watching like the weekly series like episode and then being like, all right, and now here's a trilogy of movies. It just feels like such a left turn to me. Like, why didn't you guys just do this as a series? Why are you doing the movies? Especially because like with the train arc, you made the movie and then you made the series anyway afterwards. So, I mean, I have questions. I guess I don't mind it because typically movies are just more condensed versions of the series from what I've seen. And so I'm glad to have this. But at the same time, like if you're introducing someone to Demon Slayer, how do you navigate going through Demon Slayer? Do you like, all right, you're gonna watch like the first season and then you don't want to watch the second season, you want to watch the movie, and then you'll watch the, the third arc. Like it's such a weird thing to try and like pitch to somebody, unless they are gonna finish everything as an anime.
It is challenging. I mean, like you said with the Mugen Train movie, they basically took the Mugen Train, the movie itself, and they chopped it up into episodes, and they added a little bit, a few pieces here and there, but it's mostly the same as watching the movie. The I wouldn't be surprised to see them chop up the three Infinity Castle movies as well and just kind of put them into episodes. I my guess is mostly money, because a show you don't really make. I mean, you'll make money, otherwise they wouldn't be making the shows, but you're not going to make money off of a show like you do a movie, especially not. I mean, they've already established Demon Slayer as being wildly popular. So, and then, Mugen Train, I think, was one of the most successful anime movies of all time. I'm pretty sure Infinity Castle is the most successful anime movie of all time.
I think it's on
Uh,
course to have a worldwide box office of $1 billion.
yeah. So almost certainly money has something to do with it, but also they're spending a fucking boatload of money to make this thing, I'm sure. Uh, uh, so yeah, I don't know. It's probably that. It's probably partly publicity. Maybe there's something to do with the fact that they can take their time or put more budget into it because it's a movie. I'm not really sure about the specifics of that. But I also agree with you that it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit hard to like navigate how to watch Demon Slayer. Um, but I mean,
Well,
the end result will be great.
I guess this like 2 year cycle would work out pretty well if it turns out to be true. So that way, next year in 2026, you release the next season of Demon Slayer, which is the chopped up first movie. Then the year after that, you get the second movie. Year after that, you chop it up, release it. So you can do like you can have Demon Slayer releases every year for the next 4 or 5 years at this point.
You could do that. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen too. You're right.
So actually I think you're right. Financially, this could be the best decision that they could make. This might actually work out really well for and at this point, this movie was so well received. I think they've already sold all their tickets for the next movie. Like,
Oh, done. Like, I mean, when I went to see it, like the place was packed with both children and adults. Like it's, and that's that's in America where anime movies are not popular. Like I was blown away by how packed the seating. I saw it in a drive-in, so the drive-in theater was packed. But I was just shocked to see so many people there for an anime movie. Where other anime movies that I've gone to see, I'm oftentimes the only one in the theater.
well, and like I saw it last night, which is at the end of its run here. It's been in theaters for like 3 weeks now, or whatever it has been. Theater was full. Every
Really?
yeah, every seat was full when we went. It was a smaller theater we went to, because they didn't have it playing in the one in my local town here. So I went out 30 minutes to a different theater where they had it playing. Every seat in there was sold out.
No way. Yeah, because I mean, we're talking about this. It's the movie's been out for at least 2 weeks. Um, that's wild. I'm shocked, especially in America, that the theaters are filling, even if it is a smaller theater.
Because my wife and I were joking because we got there kind of early. We're just like, all right, well, we're gonna have a little theater to ourselves, so I don't know why we're in a rush. And then by the time like the lights started dimming down, everyone started filing, and I was like, oh my god. And I'm wondering how many of these people this isn't their first time seeing it.
Oh yeah, I almost went to the theater to watch it a second time.
Yeah, because I mean, part of it is I really haven't had too many movies that I've wanted to see in theater anyway. But if if I had enough free time, I would consider like if I knew a group of people that hadn't seen this movie and wanted to see it, I would go with them again.
For sure, easily. It's well worth watching a second time, even just for the visual spectacle alone. But I I mean, I think that's most of what I had to say about it. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about is, I mean, we've kind of like touched on little bits and pieces here as far as like connecting it to Dragon Ball. I it's again, it's obvious Demon Slayer has been influenced by Dragon Ball. It has a lot of the same tropes that you see in shonen anime that Dragon Ball has very much popularized. Uh, I mean, hats off to Ufotable and the people who created Demon Slayer, because I think it is a perfect example of how shonen anime should be progressing for the modern age, after following in Dragon Ball's footsteps. I think there's more depth for the characters at times. The animation is phenomenal. The fighting is great. Um, yeah, I think they did a great job of kind of like honoring the shonen genre that Dragon Ball has really made popular.
Yeah, I don't have much complaints about Demon Slayer. I think it's a really fun series. I mean, most of my complaints are just I'm not a huge anime person, so like the shonen tropes really like stand out to me. Like stuff that I think a lot of you weebs accept. I'm just like, no, I don't accept this. That's stupid. But I I mean it's fun. It's a fun anime. There's very little downtime that I'm upset with, and a lot of the downtime is like, oh, we're training, we're researching something, where it's stuff that feels kind of necessary to have downtime for. And
Yep.
so it makes the world feel more alive. It makes the characters feel more flesh and blood because they get hurt and they need to recover, and there's no there's no magic beans that make everything better. It's they have to deal with these actual problems. And I like that. This one feels more grounded than a lot of other anime, and it makes it in some ways more relatable, but it also makes me feel more invested into it because it feels like a world that I understand better than maybe some of these other anime worlds.
It also makes the stakes feel high. The
Yes.
fact that it is so grounded, and that's
Characters
something.
don't come back to life. I love it. Oh my gosh. Like, when a character dies, it's just like they're gone. Like, they are gone. And that has such a deep, sinking feeling in my chest when I see it happen.
100%. Again, probably the thing that me personally I complain about with Dragon Ball the most is, the Dragon Balls and the fact that they can undo basically any ramifications that happen in the story. So it's nice to see stakes and, lasting ramifications for people's choices and actions.
Yeah, it's a great series. And I do like that even though Tanjiro is like a gifted character, he has so many great mentors and so
Yeah.
many people that show him different strengths and different like I like that there's so many anime that I start trying to watch, but the main character is just inherently such a badass that it makes me like not really care. Like there could be a good story involved, but like I don't know. I don't like it when the main character starts from such a high vantage point. It makes the journey feel less meaningful to me. I like seeing Tanjiro go from just like basically a regular boy up to a Hashira. Like it's been amazing watching that full journey.
That's a really great point because even though he does have those things like his father being, a descendant of the sun breathing technique and all this stuff, he was basically like a little farm boy. And we get to see him start at the bottom and work his way up. And I think really the thing that we get from Tanjiro more than anything is his work ethic, like his willingness to push himself harder than anybody else is willing to do. And he has good reason to, right? Because he wants to save his sister and he saw his family, well, he came upon the death of all of his family. So he's got good drive and motivation. So none of it really feels it feels good when you see Tanjiro make progress. Like you feel satisfied watching it happen.
And they even go out of their way to animate like the calluses on his hands sort of thing. Like a constant reminder of how hard he's working and I mean, shoot, we we did Eido back in the day. You know how those calluses build up on your hands.
Yeah, yeah. Both Aiden and I have practiced martial arts and some sword fighting and stuff. So uh, it's funny to see that detail, like because I think we kind of saw that detail in the very first season, and they continue to animate his hands in that way with calluses on them. And as you said, Dayton, it is a great reminder of where Tanjiro came from and the work that he's put in.
Yeah, I'm excited for the next one. I'm upset that it's going to take 2 years to come out, but I'd rather wait that long and get the perfect product. This might be, man, Demon Slayer is quickly building up to be one of the few examples of what I could maybe call a perfect anime. And that is kind of insanely high praise. We'll see how everything finishes out, but right now, um it's it's poised to be that. I don't really have any actual big complaints about. There's nothing really world breaking about Demon Slayer that puts like an asterisk or anything next to it. It's just it's little gripes, but other than that, I mean, shoot, all they got to do is just you know, do the touchdown and not dance too long, and they've pretty much closed this thing out perfectly.
Stick that landing, baby.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you. There are definitely some anime out there that they do some things that I like better than Demon Slayer, but there's nothing in Demon Slayer that is like glaringly bad. Um, yeah, truly just small little nitpicks.
Like
Uh,
Full Metal Alchemist is probably still going to be my favorite anime, but it sucks that I have to like watch one version of it up to a certain point and then switch over to the other. Like that is obviously an imperfection I have to bring up. Like it's not perfect because you have to do it this way to really enjoy it. Or like I love Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, but like there's hundreds of episodes of Z. It is a slog to get through. I don't think I could recommend it to like a modern audience. It would be tough. Like it's almost I anymore I go back and watch a bridge if I want to re-experience Z.
I mean, there's got to be over 100 episodes of filler in Dragon Ball Z. So I mean, if we're talking about the original, yeah. Um, yeah, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood in particular is like one that I point to. I give it a full 10 out of 10, but I also understand your gripe about that one, which is it's like this little blemish on something that is otherwise completely perfect.
Yep,
Um,
it's still I mean it's a 10 out of 10 for me too, but like it my thing is with Demon Slayer, like I like Brotherhood or Full Metal Alchemist a little bit more because I like the characters a little bit more.
yeah,
And I just like the world a little bit more.
yep.
So it's like more personal preference than it is anything else. But like execution wise, Demon Slayer will be executed about perfectly, and like they need to be rewarded. Everyone needs to watch this and support this and be like, this is the kind of product that we want as an audience. This is what you need to produce. Stop doing this drawn out, weekly episodic, like rushed animated, like BS that just kind of ruins the product for me, and just give me an actual piece of art and I'll watch it. I'll buy the tickets to it. This is something where like I'd consider getting like a Blu-ray set for this, just that way I
Yeah.
can see it in that like super HD and get the surround sound going and all that, because I do that. I love that stuff. But I want to support this product because I can see all the hard work they put into it, and I want it to be rewarded for it.
Yeah, yeah, very much. I hard agree. I'm excited to. I'm excited that they keep releasing such quality work for Demon Slayer. Every time that I watch something new for Demon Slayer, it is quality, and I've almost come to expect that quality. So it,
Yep, me too.
yeah, if it dipped, it would be very noticeable. And I think that I think the people at Ufotable probably know and understand that, and that's probably part of the reason why they're spending so much time on these movies. And yeah, props to them. They should be rewarded, and it should be recognized that people want something quality like Demon Slayer.
I think that's a pretty good point to kind of wrap it up on there, because I have nothing else to say other than the movie was great, and it was so great that the expectations for the next movie are going to be really high. So I wish them the best of luck on the next release.
Very much. Yeah. I hard agree. But yeah, I think that's where we're going to close this out. So that's going to be it for this episode of Instant Transmission, where we discuss everything Dragon Ball and sometimes Demon Slayer. This has been your host, Todd.
And Dayton.
Don't forget, we're on Patreon and Discord. If you want to turn on our fighting spirit, you can find us at patreon.com/ITDBpodcast. The Discord link will be in the episode description, but you can also find it and all of our other links at linktree/ITDBpodcast. Thank you all so much for your support. Be sure to join us next time as we don our best pirate accents in BoJack Unbound.
Oh, I love Dragon Ball pirate accents. Hell yeah, I'm into this.
A powerful foe has been unleashed upon the universe, and Goku is not around to stop it. It's going to be up to Gohan and his companions to take on the role of hero this time. Will Gohan be able to summon his full power against BoJack? What can Goku offer from Otherworld? Where is BoJack's pirate ship? Find out next time. And to all our fellow Dragon Ball fans, stay safe out there, and remember to keep rocking the dragon.
Dude, I got to get all the sound effects from the pirate robot queued up on my soundboard for next episode. Shiver me
Oi.
timbers.
Oi, me hearty.